Sure, I'd be happy to tell you. Well, first off, thank you for having me. This is awesome. And Mrs. Roman talked to me a little bit about this project, and I know that you've talked to a lot of pretty cool people. And so I'm really excited that I was invited and get to sit here and chat with you guys a little bit about today. So a little bit about me. Well, let's see. I have 3 children, all under the age of 5. Okay, so I have a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, well, almost 4-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old at home. And then Mrs. Petmezas is pregnant with twins. So do the math. How many kids is that? Wow, craziness, right? So I come to work with lots of kids and see you all every day, and then I go home and I have many more at home there too. But
how do you handle that?
Well, with patience, I guess. I don't know yet. I don't have 5 yet. Next year, this time, maybe I'll come back and you could I could answer that a little bit better. But other than that, what else about me? This is, as you know, my 3rd year here at Mill Creek. I began as a special education teacher at the high school level, and then moved and I worked at the middle school for a little bit, at Geneva Middle School North, before coming here. So I started off working with older kids, and now I'm working with elementary kids. And yes, this is by far the best place to be. My favorite job ever. So that's a snapshot. I don't want to take up too much time.
Questions first.
Questions?
My dad's a principal too.
I do know that, yeah. So he's got some pretty good stories too, right? Do you have lots of interesting dinner time conversation?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
When you were at North, did you work as a principal?
Yeah, when I was at North, I was the assistant principal there. So I worked there for 2 years as the assistant principal. That's what we did last. Yep.
What does the assistant principal do?
Oh, good question. So we, I would say very similar. I basically help the principal a lot. So we do a lot of the same types of things. In classrooms a lot. I work with teachers. I help teachers. I work with students. Lots of discipline too, although that's not that big of an issue. But lots of helping teachers and helping students and working with parents in the community. So a lot of what I do as a principal, I did the same thing as an assistant principal.
Did you do anything else before working at a school?
Yes. Let's see. My first job ever was at Wendy's.
It's a good place.
Yeah. You know why that was my first job? Because I could walk there. And so when I got my first job, I did not have a car. And so I needed to find a job that I could walk to. And Wendy's was that place. And then after Wendy's, I worked my second job was at Red Lobster. Yeah, their biscuits, right? I worked there as a server when I was 17 years old, and I did that for about 3 years. Worked as a server at Red Lobster for 3 years. Then, of course, it was harder to work while I was away in college and had some smaller jobs while going to school. Yep.
What is your favorite part about your job?
My favorite part of my job are basically, all of you. So coming to school with, coming to work every day and meeting 300-400 very energetic students keeps me young, I feel.
Did Mr. Barrett leave or quit, or did you kind of like take his place?
We arm wrestled and we lost. And then, I'm here. He did not. He did not quit. He actually works still in the school district, but he's technically my boss now. So, yeah. So he moved there and I moved here. So I feel like I got the better end of the stick here. Yep.
What motivated you to work at school?
What motivated me to work with schools? So when I was in high school, I worked with students in our school. I volunteered after school, and I worked with students with disabilities. So students that had Down syndrome, that had autism, that maybe needed a little more help learning, and I really, really enjoyed doing that. And I think that's what motivated me to pursue my career in special education, in which I then my first job after college was teaching in a classroom with special needs students. And I think that's kind of what prompted me. And I don't think I told you this, but my son, my third kid, my 1.5-year-old at home, he has Down syndrome. So it's almost like I was prepared and I was trained to become a dad with a child with Down syndrome. Probably something you didn't know about me, right?
What college did you go to?
I went to Illinois State University. That's about 2 hours drive south of here.
My mom went there and she loved it. She became a teacher.
Yeah.
But then she retired in Hawkins.
Yeah. Well, it's a great teaching school. Yes.
What's the hardest part about your job?
The hardest part about my job. Well, it's hard to say because there are so many great things about my job. But I think the hardest part about any job, this is not just my job, but I think if you ask your parents or anyone that's working right now, is working with so many different people. You know, so you'll work with someone that is just like you, that you share all the same, what do you call it? You have similar interests, right? And then you'll also work with people that maybe don't have similar interests than you do. And so communicating effectively with all sorts of different people, with students, with parents, with teachers, I think that is probably the hardest part of any job, really. And I think you guys will probably agree as students, you know, you find you have so many different kids to talk to, some which you share similar interests in and others that you don't. It's kind of balancing all that. Yep.
If you would have a different job besides being a principal, what would you be?
What would I be? I would probably be somewhere in a field where, like of service. So like, I like working with kids right now, so probably another career. I always thought like in the medical field, maybe not so much a doctor, but somewhere where I could kind of talk to and help people in some way, shape, or form. Maybe a nurse, who knows? Yeah.
Out of all the years that you've been teaching, do you think that you've memorized everybody's name?
No. That is actually my weak spot. Okay, I am very bad with names. So that's probably one thing that I really have to work on, memorizing names. But I'm really good with faces. So you know, sometimes I'm at the mall or I'm at Costco and I bump into old students. I'll always remember, but I'm never good with a name.
Morgan and Tim, do you guys have a question for Mr. Petmezas?
What's your superpower?
What's my superpower?
Yeah.
That's a great question. So, I would say one thing that I'm probably a little good at, maybe it's a superpower, maybe it's not, patience. I think I mentioned that earlier. I think you have to be a very patient person and a very understanding person, and I think that's probably one of my strengths. So, I guess you would consider it my superpower. But I don't get rattled easily. I don't get upset easily. It takes a lot to get me, upset. But I think I try to do a lot of listening and a lot of, I would say I'm a patient person. That's a good question. Any other questions? Okay.
What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport. I enjoy watching football and watching basketball. When I was in school, I also ran track. You know, I don't know that I really enjoyed track, but I was pretty good at it, and so I was kind of in it because I was good at it.
I think we have to let Mr. Petmezas go pretty soon.
How long have you been our principal?
3 years.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy teaching?
Teaching, 20. I really enjoy teaching.
What's your favorite sport team?
Football? Okay, so in football, I will stay true to my Chicago roots. Let's say the Chicago Bears. If you were to ask me for a second, if you were to ask me for my second favorite, it'd be the Indianapolis Colts. That's right.